Mikkel again. Wow, nice to see you.
Back in the studio. Oh, Tony.
So where's your jacket?
Yeah, I left it at home. Not today.
We tried it last time. No jacket today.
I'm not allowed anymore.
Yeah.
No, I was looking at a t-shirt.
One
and
of
I
your
was
kids puked on it. That's the reason, right?
That always happens.
Yeah.
I was looking at a t-shirt and you know what? It's too big of a jump from having worn a jacket with a pocket square and then to t-shirt.
You know what's really important to keep in mind? No one cares.
Well, I care. I care.
There you go. Yeah. Well, that
You
that
know, the
matters.
compliments I get when I walk out the door. So you're without kids the next couple of days.
That's true.
I'm going to be without kids. And you know what my wife and I are going to do? We're going to sleep.
Chill.
Yeah, relax. We're going to be single for the weekend together. And
It's called Dink. Double income, no kids for the weekend.
Yeah, for the weekend. And so I love watching movies. And one of my favorites is, funny enough, Founder. And it's a story about McDonald's. Go watch it. It's pretty cool. But it's just such a good example for what we're going to get into today.
Yep.
Repeatability. So these, McDonald's are really the masters of repeatability, scale, efficiency. They really figured it out.
Yeah.
And you've seen it, right?
Yes.
So they have this scene where they need to change around the kitchen. And they're at the tennis court, with markers on, and they're exercise, training. Now the burger's ready, hand it over, the fries, and walking around because they don't have a lot of space to make sure that it actually works out until they nail it. And once they, start nailing some of those fundamentals in the process, then they can obviously open up and sell, all the burgers. They're cheap, so they need to have a high volume. But then they just start opening up more and more shops with the exact same setup, with the exact same menu, the exact same quality. If you go to a McDonald's in Denmark and then one elsewhere, chances are it's going to be pretty much the same experience you can have. And so they really nailed it.
That is repeatability. That is scalability. Opposed to, try and have like a 2 or 3 star Michelin restaurant on every corner.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't work out.
That's gonna be
right?
tricky.
Not only because you're not able to replicate the same quality, because you need those, grandmaster chefs to kind of do it, but also you don't have the market to even do that in the first place, right? And that separates a cool business model that is great and world renowned, Noma, from a scalable business model that basically is also world renowned, if you will, and scales across the whole planet, right?
And the revenues they produce are entirely different.
Absolutely.
And so scale is absolutely critical, and repeatability is just a massively important factor in that sense. And that's why we're going to get into it today. If you want to end up with, a business that grows rapidly and you want to be able to model how you're going to grow, you need to understand where you have repeatability.
Yes. And really the point here is, and this is really important to understand, is repeatability not only means that you can do something on a Monday and repeat it on a Tuesday. It means that you can do it, once on a Monday, but in a week or 2 from now, you're able to do it 10 times on a Monday.
Yeah.
Repeatability is about running things in parallel, adding logs to the fire, instead of just having the same log in the fire burning all the time, right? So that's kind of really important to make that mental leap. And when we talk about repeatability, again, it doesn't mean that you can do one thing one week and the next. It means that you can do the same thing at the same time over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are some things we tend to think are repeatable that then aren't.
Yeah.
And you had this example of false friends, I think was the phrase.
False friends. You know what? This is not a German weird translation into English. I think that's an actual English thing.
I've never heard about it before.
Yeah. Okay. So a false friend. What is a false friend? A false friend is I just know it from language. There's there are many words that are the same between languages, right? For example, kindergarten in English, and in German, surprise, it's called kindergarten, right? It's the same thing. And then there are, you could say this is a this is a true friend because the same words mean the same thing in both languages. But if you take something like brave in English means, whatever brave means. But in German, it means being a good child, right? So it's a false friend. You think it's the same meaning in both places, but it's not. So therefore, it's not a false. It's not a friend. It's a false friend. Wonderful. And so what the F does that have to do with what we're doing here right now? Well, I feel, and this is I feel this is one of the myth I want to bust. But whenever I talk about it, people just zone out and are bored about it. So really, a false friend for scalability is your Google ad spend. Your Google ads, it's a false friend. Why the F is that a false friend? Well, you will have a really nice ramp up of, you spend money on ads and you bid on those keywords and, the dashboard looks really nice and it adds up really quick. But very quickly, either in the first year or shortly thereafter, you will cap out. You will basically have the same amount of traffic coming from Google week over week, month over month. You will have seasonality in there and all of that jazz. But generally speaking, it's flat. So why is it not repeatable? Well, it's repeatable, every week and every month. But it's not like you can add another Google search. You can add Bing, by the way. It will give you another bump of around 2%. Unless you sell to grandmas and grandpas, by the way. Otherwise, there's not, another Google search engine you can add on top and get the same intent level inbound coming in. So therefore, it's a nice base to have, but it's not repeatable in the sense you can't scale through Google. Many people forget about that, and I just want everyone listening that if this is your business model right now and you're B2B. Totally different story in B2C, by the way. If you're B2B and Google Ads is how you grow, you have a really big problem coming up in 6 to 12 months from now.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a classic S-curve that's happening, right? So you'll see some growth and that's great. And by the way, it's not that to knock on Google. It's certainly an important and a good channel to consider if you're in B2B, but at some point it is going to flatten out. And what you then tend to do is say, well, can we do another campaign about this other product? So you add another S-curve on top until you kind of exhausted it. Yeah. And you're going to be there at some point. Now, the other difference where you just can continuously add S-curves on top and on top and on top.
So there's, let's just stay in the marketing realm maybe for a second.
Okay.
And let's just say Facebook. Let's just say you sell something SMB or something like that. And Facebook obviously has a gazillion billion users. And you will want to reach them. And you don't, you shouldn't try and reach them with the, hey, demo request. And I'm not a certified marketing expert. So, don't too much listen to me.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. But what you can do on Facebook is you can interface to your potential buyers and their targeting issues and so forth, but basically kind of tell them about you, kind of tell them the problem that they weren't aware yet, and then have them realize the next day, oh, Jazz, I have this problem. I now need to go to Google and I need to search. Yeah. And what you now did, you created demand. Other people call it demand generation. And when they then show up on Google, that is then called demand capture. And the demand in a market usually is flat unless you have a lot of people trying to push that demand up, which is sometimes the reason why it's better to be in a crowded market than not, by the way. But, if you're only looking at capturing whatever demand is out there, it will simply, there won't be magically more people that wake up every day to have that problem, right? You need to educate the market that they have that problem.
Oh, I need another BI tool. Yeah. I just realized.
Yes. And the other example, obviously SDRs, outbound, favorite go-to here for many reasons. Yeah. And the reason is it is also really a demand gen function. It doesn't mean that it needs to report into marketing if someone was, getting scared of this now. But it basically means you are calling up people, you educating them on the problem they might or might not have. And then, magically you get them from where they are right now all the way down to, oh, now I want to see a demo. And then the rep in the demo is, building out this problem that they might have. And then they realize, shit,
Yeah.
now I need to buy this thing. That's why it works really great. And the reason why it is so scalable is it's not about how many people want to buy today. It's how many people could buy.
Yeah.
And let's go at it and call them all up. It's the same with the Facebook ads. Let's go to all the people that could buy, educate that we have a problem. And obviously you could say now, hey, but there's also a limit to it. Once you kind of talk to all of these people, then you have the other S curve. And that's right, for sure. But now you're basically talking about TAM. You're running out of total addressable market at that point. And you know what? Once you have that problem, I congratulate you. That's a champagne problem to have, and try and get there first before you complain about it.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about there's a reason why Facebook and Google are trying to spread more internet around the world.
So maybe we need to elaborate on this. So Google and Facebook, they're trying to bring the internet to Africa. They're bringing the internet to remote places on the planet. Why are they doing that? Well, they literally ran out of TAM. They got everyone to go on this search engine. They got everyone to go on this social media website. And what they now need to do in order to keep growing, they basically need to help everyone to, drop into that TAM. They need to not build demand. They need to build a market.
Yeah.
So they're basically trying to get more and more people to go online. Hence, they give them internet. And then obviously they become a customer.
Yeah. And so maybe this is an entire side rant, but usually you don't run out of TAM.
Usually it's the VP marketing that is clueless and is worried that then says, you know what, guys, I think we're running out of TAM. That's the reason why we're not growing. I can't deliver any more leads. It's done. And usually when you hear that, it's probably BS.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really what you're saying with SDRs, with the Facebook examples is here you have a potential case where you can keep stacking, keep hiring SDRs, get one more in Monday, another one next Monday, and they average, maybe 10 meetings a week. Then it's a month, and then it becomes 20 as you hire, 30, 40, and so on. And you can keep going because you know what? There's a lot of people you can call. And even the ones you called a year ago, you can call them now.
No, actually the ones you called 3 months ago. Yeah. But, besides that point, so now we're getting into so this is the difference between what's repeatable, what's not repeatable. Yeah. And now you need to think about, okay, how do I make it repeatable, right? In a demand gen marketing use case, it's, the copy needs to change, the visuals of the ad need to change, the targeting needs to change. Whatever you did for Google once on the keyword and a landing page, it will, that dynamic will change. You need to be way more creative. Yeah. AKA need to hire way more copy and creative people to keep rotating those ads, to keep that, target market to, keep them educating. And then on the SDR side, you basically have the same issue to a degree. But in that case, it's how do you repeatably find the talent, get them into the organization and onboard them, and get them to being successful in their role. That's for the SDR side. For the AE side, how do you find them? How do you successfully get them into the role? And how do you get them to close business at the right rate and hit success criteria throughout the organization? If you figure this out with, we call her the average Jane. If we do that with average Jane, not with rockstar, super awesome person, I don't know, PhD, whatever. If you're able to do that with the average person off the street, then you have something that smells like repeatability. If you need the outlier expert all the time, it will be difficult for you to get to 10, 50, 100 folks.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're really getting into the whole, standardization piece almost, right? That you need to have some inputs, you need to have a processing, you need some outputs, and that, where you have predictability.
And so one way to get to stronger standardization is to narrow down the scope of each role. And then you get into specialization. And the reason why you want to do specialization is you want to have a very clearly defined, this is what this role is about. I only need to teach you this part. You can explore all the other things around it, but that's what I need to teach you right now. And I need to get you to be great at that specific step.
Yeah.
And if you have, for example, the current typical SDR and account executive setup, you need to teach the SDR how to be great at prospecting. And you have great managers around that. And you need the AE to be great at closing those deals. Both of this is a completely different onboarding, is a completely different management style. It's completely, everything's different. If you have a setup where you have an account executive covering the whole cycle, suddenly you need to teach her how to prospect, how to be great at that, and how to close, how to be great at that. If she is not good at one of those, this thing will break apart. And it will probably be really difficult for you to figure out whom to fire. Because, well, but she's really good at closing, just not on the prospecting side. Does that now mean I should, let her go, or maybe I can funnel more marketing stuff to her? So this is the problem, right? If you specialize, you narrow down the scope of what you need to achieve in the repeatability piece. You train that, you get them successful, and sure, there's a career path coming out of this. Say an SDR can become an AE if they want to, and so forth. But that is what you need to achieve in order to get to repeatability, and repeatability is, for me, just another word for scale.
Yeah.
Sure, you need some cash and pay for those salaries and so forth. So there's some other issues around it. But once you have that, then you have scale. Then you have a scalable channel, and that's what many people struggle with, by the way.
Yeah.
But that is really the definition of repeatability.
But I think the interesting piece here that I'm reflecting over is, you have things that are non-repeatable. You can do them up to a point. Go ahead and do them. If it makes sense, that's totally fine. But you do need to uncover which initiatives can you make repeatable when you go and prioritize them, right? So the example I would take from marketing is there's actually two. So you have events, right? If you do local meetups, such as we've done recently, we've done one in Copenhagen, we're doing one in Berlin and London. You start adding more cities and do more of those, start adding people to manage and create those events and market them. The other would be content, right? HubSpot is one of those that's, been added for, I think, a decade by now. And what they did once they started exhausting the inbound marketing, area, they started going into sales and they started going into CES. They even started writing about, very, very top funnel things like spreadsheets or education. So there's scale there for sure as well. And
but you have, especially HubSpot is really the inbound marketing. That's what they is so brilliant, by the way. That's what they sell and what they, got known for. It's so brilliant. But guess what? They have a large team of outbound reps as well.
Yeah.
And then you have teams that are the archetype of PLG, of product-led growth. Guess what? They have massive sales teams right now that are not only doing the sales assist, but doing also the sales led, right? And you use a tactic to get going. You see success. At some point, it will taper off, or it will just not deliver the growth that your investors want to see. So guess what? You need to add something else on top, right? And I think sometimes we're talking about those two things as scale versus evolve.
Yeah.
So once you have a motion, something that you can repeat, then it's really about, okay, cool, I've figured this out now. It works for me. Now I'm going to spend a bunch of money to scale it up and get more stuff out of it. Lots of issues around it to even, get to that point, and then to make sure that you spend the money in the right way and so forth. Scale is always a different challenge. But at the on the other side, and I see this a lot with companies that are starting to be a bit more cautious about customer acquisition cost payback, so CAC payback. They basically are, hey, we're only going to use the channels that we know already and that scale. They will taper off eventually, by the way. And using evolve projects, meaning new markets, new products, new motions, new segments, new stuff, that is the way that is going to keep you growing eventually, but it's going to be really expensive in the short term. When you start with an evolve project, we talked about this many times, it might take up to a year before this is at a point where you can say, Now we can scale this.
Yeah.
And during this year, it's only going to cost you money, and it's going to look like shit CAC payback. And you will need to explain to your boss and the board and so forth that this is a long-term play. And as soon as you in startup scale-up world say the word long-term, you have an issue already right there, right? So this is sometimes what I see, what kind of separates the repeatability side and scale side, and it's really great. Even getting there is difficult. Finding 1 or 2 channels up to 10 million is hard, and those will probably take you until 50 and so forth. But as you go through that, you will need to find more and other channels and motions and whatever to keep on adding S curves on top of each other.
Yeah. And then I think you need to, as we discussed, once you've proven that, hey, now we can see this is beginning to work, it shifts from, okay, now it's no longer an evolve initiative.
Yes.
Now we need to figure out how to scale it. That might mean bringing on different people. If it was me and we saw, hey, we can scale content, you know what? I would probably recommend finding someone who's done that before, who can then go and say, okay, this is the hiring process. You know what? This is the copywriting and onboarding process. This is how we measure and control the output. Right?
I think this is a really great point. It's really many times you will need to have someone that is creative. And I don't mean that in the, this is a designer kind of sense. Someone that has the willingness and the attitude and the grit to take something from 0 to 1.
Yeah.
That is this one kind of person. And they will do things in a completely unscalable way because that's how you get from 0 to 1. It's not the immediate boom scalable. And then, once it is 1, you need to probably get someone in that is the playbook guy or girl. It's like, okay, how did you do this? Okay, yep. I think those 5 things we can skip. Those 2 things we will add. Here's the playbook. And now I'll take it from 1 to 100.
Yeah.
And those are just 2 different people, by the way. And figuring that shift out, sometimes reflected in, you need to have this kind of VP sales for 1 million and this kind of VP sales for 10 and so forth. But really, it boils down to what I just said, right? And just keep this also in mind when you are starting up a new channel. If you are starting up something new, don't give it to the scale girl. Give it to the evolve or creative. Let's just call it like that. Girl.
Yeah.
Wow, this felt like a like a bullet train here.
No, we can go a long time on this one, right? But it is one of the key components if you want to scale a business and grow. You need to figure out what you can repeat. You need to realize that it's going to be different, people when you start it out versus when you then need to scale it. You're going to try out a lot of things and fail, but at least having the mindset of first off the cuff, is this something you're going to be able to scale? And if so, up to what point?
Yeah.
And does that make more sense given where you are now? Compared to other opportunities you have on the table.
Like I like to say it, is it a false friend? So I think it's really important to look at the different channels you have, figure out if they're scalable, repeatable, and again, not repeatable in time, but repeatable at the same time, and double down on the ones that you see will keep on growing. For example, I don't think you need to have a massive performance marketing team that only looks at Google. That probably doesn't, it's not going to work out for you. You need to have a team that probably is able to go into demand gen mode and scale this up a lot. Same with SDRs. And I think, we keep talking about inbound, outbound, basically. There's partnerships as well, a little bit more difficult to scale. But if you get to scale, Jesus, that's a fantastic channel. And there are a couple of other pieces as well, right? So really look at the stuff that you have and figure out which ones of them are actually scalable and then put your resources behind making that one scalable.
Yeah, and then once you're there, it's all standardization and go.
Yeah.
Then you can put it into a model, you can map it out and go.
Yeah. So one big question I think every listener still has on his or her mind is Founder really your favorite movie?
No, I said one of.
Oh, one of, okay.
I find it really hard to limit myself to one favorite movie.
I just feel everyone will think like, he did it for the intro.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, it does fit in there, but it is one of my favorites.
Okay, there you go.
Again,
everyone judged you now in a certain way, but it's fine.
You know what? I don't care. I stand by my statement.
But you care about the jacket, of course.
But another good day in the studio.
Yes.
Another good topic. I feel like we're slowly finding some of the key elements to building, a growth engine, to having that revenue formula up on the whiteboard. Next time we go into the studio, we're probably going to start talking about how to use some of this we just talked about in the past episodes to model out.
Let's go. Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Miss Mikkel. Thanks for listening. And hear you next time.
Bye.